Hi everyone, welcome to 1980 Productions. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic. So make sure you stay tuned, like, engage with us by commenting down below, and then also share. All right. Today's topic, like I said, is very interesting. But before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Green Chizoba, and I'm a lawyer. I know you're looking at the green wig and I'm the programs manager at Lex Initiative for Rights, Advocacy, and Development. So what we do is that we provide legal representation, legal counseling, and I'm a feminist, and I'm also a human rights advocate. So why I said today's topic is very important is something that we go through every day of our lives. It's something that bothers us in Nigeria. So it's something that I know you will enjoy. So please don't forget to engage us. If you have any questions, ask in the comment section. We'll respond and then we'll interact, okay? Okay, so today's topic is about gender-based violence. But we're going to start from the angle of activism. Every year, we have 16 days of activism, and it's activism on gender-based violence. Now, you might ask, why is this necessary? Why do people do this every year? It's because of how sensitive and important this topic is. It's because of how it is trendy. It is not something that, as long as human beings exist, we always talk about gender-based violence. And as shocking as it might sound, some people really do not have awareness about gender-based violence. So that is why we do this every year. So like I said, every year from 25th of November to 10th of December, we have these 16 days of activism solely on gender-based violence. Now, 25th day of November is usually known as, or celebrated, I should say, as International Day for against violence against women. Do you understand? It's like a day that has been set up. So I think it's quite fitting that that is the day that we're kicking off this activism. And then it ends on 10th of December, which is International Human Rights Day. We are all humans. We all have equal rights. Okay? So delving into this topic, we're going to explore the Nigerian context. We're going to talk about the religion and how it affects this topic. We're going to talk about our traditions. And we're also going to talk about the way forward. It's not enough to say gender-based violence every time, but the way forward, what you are going to be doing to contribute to this activism and what we are going to be doing to contribute to this activism. Despite years of advocacy and activism against female genital mutilation, in this 2024, you find out that this is still very prevalent in rural communities. Now, what this means is that this work that we do, advocating for equal rights, advocating for inclusion of women in making laws, is something that is ongoing. And that is why these 16 days of activism is very, very important. Now, when we talk about gender-based violence, I want us to understand something. It could be physical. When we talk about, fights and seeing physical marks on your body, it's not just that. It's also psychological. Imagine a situation where every day you face bad words, you face soul-crushing words, and this is just directed at you. Okay, imagine a situation, let me bring it down. Imagine a woman that just gone through the process of giving birth, and they have a partner that is unsupportive, a partner that talks to them anyhow about their body. What do you think it will do? The psychological effects are long-lasting, and this is why we talk about this GBV. This is why we always advocate and will not stop talking. Now, apart from the physical one, which I've talked about, the psychological one, and the psychological effects of these things, let's talk about the sexual part of it, which is rape. It's very, very important that we specifically address this, because we know what happens in Nigeria when someone comes on social media to say, I was raped. The first question that people ask is, what were you wearing? And now they say this to adults. But we know that young girls, talking about babies, we've been here in this world, in this earth, we've heard cases and we've read stories of young babies, 6 months, 3 months, 8 months, being raped. So what then do you say? Because the question that they normally ask is, what were you wearing? Why did you go to his house? Why didn't you meet in a public place? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Rape is also gender-based violence. Now, let me reiterate. We are not saying that men do not face this. I know recently we've had cases of people coming up to say, oh, I'm a guy, oh, I was violated, oh, blah, 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 blah. It happens. Even in South Africa years back, there were cases where men were coming to say that they were being abused, sexually abused and raped. It happens. That is why this activism is important. Remember, it is activism against gender-based violence. So we need everybody to lend their voice to this thing. Now, when we bring it down to the religious context, we also know that certain religions, they have certain tenets, and such tenets only apply to the female folks. We know some things that do not apply to the male folks. Now, when those religions are being pushed, or when people that worship in those religions say these things, it is fine. It is their belief. We recognize that and we respect them. But any religious belief that directs violence of any kind towards a specific gender, that particular preaching, that particular direction is something we are challenging. Now, let me just summarize what I've been saying. What I'm trying to say, what I've been trying to say all this while, is that we all need to speak up against gender-based violence because it affects all of us. Sometimes, when these things happen, we try to sweep it under the rug. We don't know the effect it has on the younger generation. And that is why we will never stop talking. Because we have children that are seeing all these things. We have children that are feeling these things, and then they go out in the society, and it's because of their family upbringing. So we all know that Nigeria is deeply rooted in culture and religion. This is why we need to talk about this in this context. For example, we know some cultures believe in female genital mutilation. For whatever reason, they believe in it. We are not here to target any specific culture or any specific religion, but we know that these things exist. Now, I'm here to let you know that female genital mutilation, it is gender-based violence because it is something that is only done to women and girls. We also have some harmful practices like some practices that some cultures have against widows. You know, when they tell them that, oh, your husband has died, to prove that you did not do anything, you have to consume this, you have to consume this. They only do it to women. They don't do it to men. Are we trying to say in such communities that men don't also lose their wives? We know that's not true. This is what we're here to talk about. Any violence that is directed towards one specific gender is gender-based violence. Now, we have laws in Nigeria. Just like I said we'll explore the laws, we'll explore the cultural aspect of it, and then the religious aspect of it. We know we have laws, but we know that in some remote communities and some communities where people do not have enlightenment or awareness, we know that they are guided by their religion and by their culture. This is why when we do these 16 days of activism, it's a call to all of us to show up and represent. It's a call for you to take this message to the deepest part of your communities where you feel that they need enlightenment, because most people, they don't even know. They think, oh, I grew up seeing my grandmother do this, I grew up seeing my grandfather do this. They don't know that it is gender-based violence. When we talk about trafficking of girls to different locations, when you promise girls they should come to Libya, that in Libya, that they will do this, they will do that, and then they get to that place, they'll turn out to be servicing old men in brothels and all that. And this is sex work without pay. And this is exploitation because these girls, they did not know. That is also the sexual part of this gender-based violence. We know the physical part of it. We bring it down to the Nigerian context. We know when a popular singer lost her life and then it trended, and then stories of abuse came up, years and years of abuse from her partner. Everybody cried, everybody talked about it. Even the previous governments, they talked about it. The government became involved. You know, it was such a viral moment. It's not just about talking. Now, for that particular case, a woman lost her life. And then when she died, stories started coming up about the children, how the children were involved, how the children were instructed by the other person in the situation to do some physical acts against their late mother. And these are the effects, and this is the reason we need to talk about this. Now, that story trended, we talked about it. A few years later, these things are still happening. Earlier this year, this did not happen in Nigeria, but it trended so much that if you are current, I'm sure you must have seen it, or you heard about it, or you read about it. It was about a female doctor that was on call, and then she was resting. A few hours later, her colleagues found her dead. She was violated so much that it's so graphic. It's not something I really can say on camera like this. But that case was so graphic and traumatizing. It still is. Now, these things happen to women mostly. In that same hospital in India, I'm sure that there are call rooms where men go to rest. But it doesn't happen to them. It happens to women. And this is why we talk about this. This GBV that we're talking of is very broad. There are so many cases that come to mind. There are so many cases. I've mentioned the one that just happened maybe last week. There are so many cases that if we go through the Nigerian history, even just a few years ago, things were happening. I remember the case of I've forgotten her name, but that was in 2020, a lady that went to read in Edo State, and she was killed. By morning, they saw her body. And then, till now, somebody was arrested for that. You would think that would stop it. No. Earlier this year, we were talking about two ladies that went missing. They said they met somebody, an American returnee, on Facebook. They went to see the person, and then that was the last thing everybody heard from them. So when these cases come up, what people focus on is, oh, these women, what were they doing there? Why were they going to see somebody? Why were they going to do that? And then the blame is on the victims, not on the perpetrators. This activism is a call to action for all of us to contribute and then to lend our voice. For example, when issues like that arise, don't be the person that goes on social media to shame the survivors and say, oh, it's because girls, they like money, that is why, and all that and all that. Because there's no relationship between the love of money and murder. Someone can like money, but you don't have to kill them for it. And we know it is women that face these things. Even men meet people on social media. Men meet strangers and they travel across states to see them. But how many times have you ever heard the case of any man dying or being strangled in a hotel room or being killed? Now, our country is deeply religious and we are deeply rooted in culture too. Some of these times, sometimes rather, you hear some of these cases, they'll have like ritualistic undertones. And that is also part of what we're talking about. When you believe that somebody's body parts will fetch you wealth, and not just somebody's body parts, a woman's body parts will fetch you wealth, and then you go to mutilate, to kill people and harvest these organs to fetch you that wealth. It is one of the major things we are talking about when we say women are the end, they are the receivers of this violence. And that is deeply rooted in traditional beliefs. We are here to challenge these situations. When we talk about female genital mutilation, people believe it's supposed to stop a woman from being sexually, I don't know, for lack of a better word, sexually wild. And that is why they do that on young girls. Now, it's also rooted in this belief that a woman is supposed to be seen a certain way. She's not supposed to be sexual. She's supposed to keep her body for her husband and all that. I'm not here to argue about people's beliefs. But these beliefs, they take us backwards. They don't help us to move as a society. Because what it does is to put a target on women and girls. When girls are being seen for what they will fetch, their economic value. If I traffic a girl to Libya, I can get money. If I take a guy to Libya, nobody will even want him. It puts a red mark on girls. It makes them a target. Now, when these things happen, and we as a society, we try to trivialize it, or we just let it trend, and we let it go there, it doesn't make it stop. This is why every year, I'm grateful that we have these 16 days of activism, because it keeps this thing to the forefront. It's something that reminds us that this is something that we need to talk about all the time. Blackmail is also another part that I feel is important that we explore, because it's something that happens within this space. Just a few years ago, there was a female celebrity that somebody was peddling her videos and there was a blackmail involved. I think she called the bluff, and then that video was released. And people went to share the videos, to watch it and all that. It's also a form of violence against women, because oftentimes we see men being proud of these videos. It's something that it shows how sexual they are, how good they are. But if it's the other case for women, it's something that is used to silence them. Currently, there's a trending video of a man from another country that was seen on video doing something with some women, and they said there are more than 400 women and all that. And there are stories coming up that a woman has committed suicide. This is what we're talking about. Something happened. This man is in a position of authority in his country, and he made these videos knowing this. But somehow the story has been going towards women are to be blamed, women are to be this, women are to be that. Sharing these videos, watching them, it perpetuates this circle. It all leads to blackmail psychologically. If you check it, the effects on these people, because something that will make someone commit suicide is something the person cannot live with. Why is this important to us? It's because our actions and the way we live will set the path for the future generation. When children grow up in homes that are chaotic, in homes that they see one parent being abusive to the other, it sets the tone for that person's life. You don't know, years down the line, this person will say, oh, I saw my mother slap my dad, or I saw my dad do this to my mom, so it's normal. Now, what will happen is that years down the line, the climate might be different. Years down the line, the generation that might be in positions of authority might be the type that expects accountability. So if you are not setting your children right, you're already setting them up. Now, when videos like this trend, we don't know the effects on the people. Some people cannot take it and they commit suicide. And this is not the first time we've heard of a case of a female being blackmailed and then videos being released. It happens. Some people can't take it and they commit suicide, all because of this. Any violence that is directed to somebody because of their gender, it is what we are advocating against. And let me reiterate, women and girls are the receiving end of this type of violence. When you share those videos, when you keep victim blaming, you are perpetuating a circle. Now, we know in Nigeria, people have come out to say that they were raped or that they were sexually assaulted, and then there's no accountability. Online, that person will start getting dragged, and then they will start asking someone, what were you wearing? Why did you go there? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And these are for adults. But we have instances where there are babies being raped and sexually violated. We have instances where babies that are still in diapers are being affected. And then, what were they wearing? They are babies. They were not wearing anything other than diapers. This is gender-based violence against women, against girls. And this is why it is important for all of us to lend our voice to this. This is why 16 days of activism is something you actually have to participate in. Not just for yourself now, not just for your sisters, but also to end up creating an equitable society for all of us. What does the Nigerian law say about this topic? We have the 1999 Constitution, as we all know. Under the Constitution, Chapter 4 talks about human rights. And the beautiful thing is that the Constitution does not say human rights for men or human rights for women. So long as you're a Nigerian citizen, that law applies to you. And we know the Nigerian Constitution is the grand norm of the country. What that means basically is the grandpapa. I know that's how I say it, is the grandpapa of all the laws. So any law that goes contrary to what the Nigerian Constitution says, that law will not be valid. Now, Chapter 4 talks about human rights. And that law says we all have right to life, dignity of human persons, right to work, right to healthcare services, and so many other rights that I'm sure that most of us are aware. What I'm trying to say is that this law does not make a distinction between the rights that a woman enjoys and the rights that a man enjoys. So there's no tradition that is superior to the Nigerian law, the Nigerian Constitution. There is no culture, there is no religious tenet that is superior to what the 1999 Constitution says. Now, this Constitution protects everybody, regardless of their sex, whether you are a male or a female, regardless of your ethnicity and your culture. The Nigerian Constitution says you have a right to life, you have a right to dignity of a person. Oftentimes, you see videos where women will be paraded naked, for one thing or the other. They say, oh, they caught this woman, she was trying to do this, and the next thing you know, they'll parade the person naked. These things are against the law. And these things are basically done to women. When we have cases where people say, oh, a man was caught, a woman was caught, it's normally the woman that faces this more than the other. And this is why this 16 days of activism is here to keep reminding us yearly that women do not have equal rights yet. Women do not have equitable access to justice. When cases occur, most times a woman might want to come up and go to the police and say, oh, I've been raped and all that. But you see, oftentimes it could be the attitude of maybe the family or the law enforcement agencies that will stop this woman from going forward. Now, some families will say, oh, you were raped. It's against our culture. If you go out and loud it, nobody will want to marry you. And that what that does, this woman will forget that something was done to her, something that is a crime under the law. And sometimes families will sue, oh, let's just settle it. And we forget that there's a human being behind this act. We forget the psychological effect and the lasting effects of these forms of violence against women. It's not just rape, it's more than rape, it's deeper than rape. The consequences last for a long time. Some people have committed suicide because of something that happened to them, because of sexual assault. They couldn't live with themselves and they committed suicide. Now, when we talk about these things, it's also for us to raise awareness for the law enforcement agencies to also know that they are obligated by law to investigate these cases. They are not obligated to tell you, oh, come, the family wants to settle and just forget about it, move on with your life. When people know that you've been raped, people will not want to marry you, people will not want to talk to you. No. It's also a call to action for organizations, for the law enforcement agencies, for governments. Make everybody put mouth for the matter, that this thing that is happening, it is very, 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 very serious. When people come up and they say, oh, they've been raped, don't be the person that doubts them or you re-traumatize them, by telling them, what were you wearing? Where were you this? In penal crimes, nobody asks these questions. What they do is to take evidence. They take evidence from you to see if the perpetrator left DNA on you, they take pictures of you. Everything is accounted for. And they go ahead and they arrest the person. But in Nigeria, sometimes you find out that this is not the case. You find out that people will say, oh, they did not know that they are not supposed to mutilate their daughter. They did not know that the government has spoken against it and all that. So this is why this activism is also an awareness campaign. It's also education. It's for you, when you learn anything that you learn from this video, you don't just keep it with you. It's also for you to educate your elderly parents, your neighbors, and also educate people that don't know. Now, an instance that happens so much in the social media space is where people share videos, and in that videos, they are minors. These are grievous crimes. When, there's a video of this, and it's a child that is involved, and somebody will tell you, share, let me see, and you share. The fact that you're sharing those videos, and there's a minor involved, these are crimes. But some people don't know. It's through awareness that they will know that, okay, you're not even supposed to watch the videos. It's a crime. You're not supposed to share the videos. And then when people come out to say that something happened to them, it is not for you to victim blame. It's for you, if you don't have anything nice to say, anything supportive to say, it's for you to give your moral support, no matter where you are. It's for you sometimes to go ahead and then advocate for this person. Because oftentimes when these things go on, you see people on different platforms saying, hey, what was she wearing? All these girls that all they care about is money and all that and all that. Case in point, earlier this year, there was a case about 2 women that went missing. That they met somebody through Facebook, and then that was the last time anybody heard about them. And then when this case came up, people were saying, what were they doing there? One is even married, though. What is she looking for? More money, this and that and all that. When you say these things, you forget that even law enforcement agents, they're on social media. You forget that these people that you expect to take this matter to court and all that, they are human beings too. And then the law is there, quite all right. But let's not forget the Nigerian factor, which is most times we lack the strength to pursue matters to the end, because of, delays in the judicial system and other factors. So when you come on social media to lend your voice in a way that blames the victim, it is something that it keeps other people that have similar cases that might want to say, oh, me too, this happened to me too. They wouldn't want to speak up again. You don't know the people that are queuing up behind that will say, okay, me too. Currently, a case of an American superstar. It started with one case of his ex. I'm talking about Didi. And then when she came out, he gave other people the strength to come out to say, me too, this happened to me too, this happened to me too, this happened to me too. You give people strength by your words. So if you don't learn anything from this talk, don't be in the habit of victim blaming. What it does is it has lasting harmful psychological effects on the victims and on the survivors. And what it does is to bolden perpetrators, to make them to feel, oh, this person got away with it, I can do it. So we've talked about the Nigerian constitution, which does not discriminate. So long as you're a Nigerian, the constitution is for you and your human rights are enshrined in the constitution. We have other laws. We have the criminal code, which punishes offenders. We have the VAP law in Nigeria, which is the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law, right? Now, this law is a very beautiful one that is here to protect all of us. Now, what this law, currently the law is undergoing repeal. What this simply means is that they are amending some sections of the law, they are adding some things, they are removing some things, they're trying to make the law to be in line with global practices, to be progressive. They're trying to bring the law to 2024 to add provisions that they believe will cover everybody. That's why the law is violence against persons. It means whether you're a man, a woman, a child, you have protection under that law. Now, under this law, there are provisions for victims, there are provisions for psychological help for victims, there are provisions for funds set up to help victims and all that. And this law also punishes offenders. Now, this law is there, and currently, like I said, it's being repealed. It doesn't mean that the law is not useful. After it passes through the stages of repealment, I'm sure we'll find this law very beautiful. Now, apart from the VAP law, people in the north, they also have the penal code. The reason I'm mentioning all these laws is to let us know that we have laws that protect persons, that protect women. But these laws, people go contrary to the provisions of this law, and they're able to just carry on, and then they get away with it because of the country that we live in. But this is not supposed to be so. These laws are there. They are there for you to know your rights. That is why I implore everyone to know about these laws, especially the VAP law, and then the Constitution. At the very least, you should know what the Constitution says. When we have these type of talks as lawyers, we try to bring it down to the basic in a way that everybody will follow. Because this 16 days of activism, it is something for everyone. Mama, papa, whether you go school or you no go school, or you are supposed to lend your voice to this talk. That's why we are bringing this down, so that you can understand it and then you follow. Okay? So you know these laws, and you then, at the bare minimum, at least you know what the Constitution says about your rights, and know what the VAP law says. You know that you have protections under this law. And that is why at Lex Initiative for Rights, Advocacy and Development, of my organization, we champion and we advocate for rights of marginalized women, girls, women from different communities, marginalized, based on disability, based on your HIV status, based on your poor economic status. This is why we have organizations such as ours. And then we advocate for and we champion for equal rights for all. We advocate for an equitable society where everybody has access to justice. Because the Nigerian law has made it clear that there is no distinction between a man and a woman and the enjoyment of these human rights laws. Everybody should enjoy these human rights laws. So when we advocate for this, is to let everybody know that thing where you think say you go do and go scot free. Law dey o, and you have your own rights under the law to say this thing where you dey do. But the law talks about it and says nobody should do that. This is why 16 Days of Activism is here, to remind us and to call all of us to put voice, make all of us lend our voice to this. Don't say it does not affect me. This is a feminist thing. Oh, it's about feminists. Feminists advocate for an equal society for all. That's what feminism is all about. So don't say this is just about women. What about men? What about men? I've shown you that GBV affects everybody, even though it affects women and girls more. Everybody is affected by this GBV. And then if you even want to think, oh, it does not affect me, what about your children? What about the children that are experiencing this? And tomorrow they will meet your children that you raised well, or you think you raised well. What about the future generation? We want a country that is progressive. We want a country that is like other countries. We want a country where we have light, we have water, we have this. In other countries, you have to obey the law. These are the benefits of living in those saner climes that we are all rushing to go to. You have to obey the law. And we have laws that advocate for women and everybody. Now, why you should lend your voice and what you should do is start from being the type of person that does not victim blame. That's the first thing. If that is the only thing you learn from this our discussion, stop victim blaming. 2, in any situation you find yourself where people are saying, they deserve to buy that girl, they deserve to buy him. She met somebody on Facebook, she went and followed somebody because of money. Now ask yourself, the love of money, does it equate death or murder? That someone is doing something that you believe is against your cultural beliefs or religious beliefs, does that mean the person should die? Does that mean the person should die? Even if you believe that is against the law, we have laws that can take this person to court and then this person will be tried. You don't take the laws into your hands, and you do not support people being murdered and mutilated all because they have a certain belief or they behave outside of your set of beliefs. Don't be the type of person that lends the voice, that your voice is kill them, your voice is disruptive. Don't be that person. If this is the only thing you learn from this discussion, learn that. Please educate those that are not aware. People think, oh, I'm married, she's my wife, I paid her bride price, I can correct her by beating her. The law says no. The law frowns on that. You should not be the type of person that believes a woman can be corrected through beating. And then finally, this is a call to action for everyone, for civil society organizations, for churches, for mosques, whatever religion you belong to and whatever your beliefs are. It's a call to action that gender-based violence is something that we all have to lend our voices to. It's something that we all have to campaign against. It's something that we all have to work towards to make sure that this does not keep happening in Nigerian society. So please, lend your voice to it, educate those that you can educate, read up on your laws, know your laws, and then use social media wisely. Don't use your social media presence to bully people or to victim blame and all that. This comes up every year, like I said. You don't have to go out in the streets if you don't want to. I'm sure in some states, some organizations normally have rallies, and some organizations have TV shows and all that, and then to advocate for this type of thing. You don't have to be on the streets talking about it, but in your private life, in your church, in your office, be that voice of reason. And this is also a call to action to the Nigerian government to pass the Gender and Equal Opportunity Bill. Don't forget that 25th November to 10th of December is 16 days of activism against SGBV. You can engage and support by following us on social media at Lex Initiative. We're on social media, we're on IG, we're on Facebook, we're on X. And then don't forget to follow 1980 Production on Facebook, TikTok, and then YouTube. Don't forget that 25th November to 10th December is 16 days of activism. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like our posts, share, and drop your comments. Let's interact. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.